All right, welcome back again. This time we're going to be talking about references. And so references, when it comes to Excel, means cell references, um, which is what it excels at. So now we've had some fun just clicking around, moving, typing numbers, but we want to actually do some math. And so the first thing to know for Excel is that you need an equal sign to do math. So if you just write 2 plus 2, Excel will take that and say, yeah, I mean, just 2 plus 2. It doesn't know that you want it to actually add it. But if you go into the cell and go into the very beginning here, so here you can edit the contents and put an equal sign at the beginning and hit enter. Now Excel says, oh, you wanted me to like add those together. I get it now. I know how to do math. And so that's kind of the way it goes for a lot of things in Excel is if you just type stuff in, then Excel won't do anything with it. But if you put an equal sign in front, it will do that. And it can do a lot of things. It can do powers, multiplication, addition. It can do, has all these it built-in functions. So like sine, S-I-N, it can do. So it can do trigonometry. And it's assuming that's radians, so sine of 30 radians is just some random thing. Square root is SQRT. Um, exponential e to the power 1.2 would be exp. And then there's a bunch of other things. So, and if you go into a cell and you type equals, and then you just start typing like, I don't know how to do cosine, but it probably starts with a C. Oh, none of those are cosine. These options start popping up. You typed, oh, maybe it's CO. Okay, still don't see it. Oh, maybe at the bottom there's a cos, so if I do COS, like cosine, oh, now I have COS. That's cosine of an angle. Hyperbolic cosine is this cosh, and so on. And so it has these all kinds of things, and you'll be able to find what you need that way. But that's cool. We can do like basic math. But usually what we want to do is math on the contents of another cell. So we may not know that what I want to do is 2 plus 2. It might be that I want to add two cells together, whatever's in those cells. And that's a lot more powerful. So the way that works is to reference a cell. So here is an example just using strings, text. And so we could say that the short jewelry obsessed individual that dies at the end of Lord of the Rings, I'll say equals to start in our little equals statement. And then I want the cell that says Gollum. And so it says I-72 because that's row 72, column I, referencing that cell. If I hit enter, then it reproduces Gollum. So what it's storing in here is just this reference to this other cell. And then what it outputs with the equals is that information. So if I go in here and say absent father to a boy with a mystical flashlight or a lightsaber, this is a Star Wars reference, so it's going to be Darth Vader. And so I could look and say that's J is my column and 71 is my row. So I could go in here and also just type equals J71. And it'll say Darth Vader. Great. The student is going to be Harry Potter. This Winter Living Royalty going to be Elsa equals click that one. Great. We got all those. And so it's just storing that cell and then outputting what's in the cell. So an application of this is, let's say you were trying to convert currency, but you messed up the exchange rate. One pound is worth more than $1, and here it's showing that each of these amounts of dollars are more pounds, which is wrong. So we must have inverted it. And so what I can do is go in here and edit and type 0.74, the actual exchange rate, and get an immediately updated calculation for all of these cells. That's really powerful because they're all referencing the contents of this one exchange rate cell. Great. So how does this get more complicated? So far, we've been talking about relative references. So the position that it remembers is going to be relative to wherever you kind of started from or told it to be. And that's really powerful, but also can be dangerous. So let's go ahead and try to calculate, say, the cost of items in our grocery list and see how it can be powerful. So say you're trying to add up your expenses, or you're trying to add up how much your groceries cost. And for some reason you're doing this in Excel, so you would type equals, and I say I want my number of things to get. I want to multiply that by the cost per, and hit enter. And now I have the cost of my total loaves of bread 3 times 1.19. And the cool thing I can do is remember that autofill we talked about earlier. Now Excel knows the pattern, right? The pattern is not that I want to copy, if I click on this and drag it down, $3.57. The pattern is that I want to take the multiplication of a cell that is 2 columns away from me and a cell that is 1 column away from me, these two. And Excel is going to assume that if you're doing it here, you want it for all of them. And that's kind of working with this like spreadsheet structure where things tend to go in these rows and columns, and that's how you have the information to be stored. And so if you had a whole column of the number, quantity of things, a whole column of the cost, multiply them together, you can get a whole column of that total. And so that's how that works. And you can see here it filled in. Now this guy's now looking at the ones to its left. And so all of them shifted down as they went, which is great. Not always great. Let's go ahead and look at different types of references. So not all references are relative. Let's say we wanted to do a multiplication table here. I want to multiply this guy by this guy and have that process kind of filter through the table, right? So I can take that and drag it over, and I can see, I'm starting to get some weird numbers, because if I look at this last one, 120, that seems a lot bigger than 1 times 5. It's got the 5 that it grabbed because it moved all that over, but it also shifted over the one to its left, and I wanted that to stay in that original column, right? It's no longer grabbing the 1 over here, it's grabbing this 24, and that's what's messing up my number. So if I try to grab this whole row and drag it down, I'm going to get some really weird stuff. It starts to blow up. This is saying like 6 times 10 to the 42. I mean, I don't even know how to say that number. We're looking at right here 20 billion, and this one is like 30 times bigger than that. So big number. But how can we fix it? We can fix the reference by putting a money sign in it. So up here, say we didn't want our F15 to move to F15, we wanted to stay at the 1. And so maybe we would have wanted to hold that column in place and just have one of the things move. So to do this example 2, first we're going to learn how to keep the whole reference fixed in place. So say, just like that currency example from before, where we're converting between pounds and dollars, maybe you want to convert mass to weight. And so you can say gravity is 9.81 meters per second, and then my weight is going to be this mass cell, click on the cell, times this gravity cell. And that is correct. If I just drag that down, it doesn't work, because if I look down here, it's not getting the gravity cell, it's getting this other just blank cell down here. But it is getting the mass. So I want my mass to move in that relative way, but I don't want the gravity to move. Right? I want to hold on to that cell. So I can go back in here and I can type F4 or function F4 on my keyboard, and it'll automatically add dollar signs for me. And that's kind of a cool thing. But anyway, what it looks like is just this dollar. So I could also just, if I were in here, I could type like $C, $70, and it'll get me a fixed C70. But the dollar sign means don't change that one. I don't want that one to be relative. So now if I take that and drag it down, oh, look, we have numbers, because F80 is in all of them. So you can watch C80, 81, 82, 83, but F80 stays the same, which is great. Next example, we kind of messed up this equation and we now have to go back and fix it with the same thing, this gravitational force calculation. And gravitational force, the equation for it's over here. It's gravity constant times a mass of one object times the mass of the other object divided by the radius distance between them squared. And this is how you would calculate, like gravitational force on you. It's how you would calculate gravitational force on the Earth from the sun. It's usually used for like space calculations. And so say you have some data up here and you want to implement that calculation. So here it is, gravity times mass divided by distance squared. But I want my distance to change. I want to see how much gravity forces acts on me at different distances from the center of the Earth. And the way that I would do that is I would go ahead and fix some of these. So my mass doesn't change, the purple one. So I'm going to put dollar signs in front of that one, and I'll type it this time. Dollar sign in front of both the F and the 95. The mass of the Earth doesn't change, so I can function F4 around that. And the gravity constant never changes, so I can make that one have dollar signs. But this green one here, the distance is going to change, so I'm going to leave that one alone. So this first cell is the same because that one was right all along. But now if I drag this down, oh, it's good because these are the actual weights at different distances. And, kind of interestingly, you can see how much it goes down as you get really, if you go, if you were the distance that Earth is from the sun away from Earth, it would have a very small force on you, just 1 Newton. And there you go, there's your calculation for that physics. Okay, so we've got relative references, we've got absolute or fixed references, but what if I want to mix and match? What if I want a column to change, but not the row, or I want the row to change, but not the column? So remember before we were up here, we put the dollar signs in 2 places, and you can see that corresponds to the row, which is 96, and the column, which is F, the letter. If I just put a dollar sign in front of one of them and not the other, then it will let part of that reference be relative and update as I drag, and part of it stays the same. So for this density calculator, we have a table now. Instead of just one column, we have a whole table. So we need to go down and we need to go to the side. To calculate density, I'm going to say that density is mass divided by volume. So mass here is going to be the same. I'm going to function F for that, divided by, need parentheses to calculate volume, because volume is length, which is here, times width, which is here in my table, times height, which is up here. Now, what do I have to do to each of these, right? For this one, it'll be okay, but as I click and drag, it's going to get messed up again, just like our multiplication table. So what I need to do is fix, let's see, the height is staying the same, so I want that to be fixed. And then I can cycle through my options by continuing to press F4. So for the width, I want that one to move sideways, but I don't want it to move down. So I want to have a dollar sign in front of the number, which is the row, so that it stays in line there, but not in front of the F so that it moves side to side. And then the opposite is true for length, because that one is in the column. So I want to have a dollar sign in front of the E so that it's stuck in that column, but not in front of the number so it can move down the rows. Again, this is still the same, but now if I drag it down, it should fix it. See, we've got some reasonable calculations. And if I go, one way to check is like look at a random spot in this table and kind of look at the colors, right? You got the right length from that side of the table, you got the right width from above you, and you kept the mass and the height that you wanted. Great. So you could use that to fix the multiplication table from before with that same idea. I'm going to want to fix some of these things, but not all of it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And there's my multiplication table going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Drag it out, and now it has everything up to 25. And so that's references in Excel. And I'm going to go ahead and stop there. That's the end. If we go back to the index, that's the end of this module 5. All those